Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Divergent Comics podcast. Uh, Today we have not a comic creator interview, but an author interview, which is funny because I think around this time last year, I did the same thing where I had an author on. And it's nice to change it up sometimes, you know? But I have my friend from Threads. I know her as the solo artist. You're going to know her, and the world will know her as A Will. So, A Will, thank you for coming on the podcast. How are you doing?
Great, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. This has been a long time coming. So, for
A long
everyone,
time.
it's funny because like it initially I thought, okay, well, for everyone who don't know, because it's going to be everyone. Last year around this time, I had scheduled to have her on the podcast. It was going to be kind of like a back-to-back author interview type of thing, and it was going to be really cool and really fun. Some things kind of came up and we weren't able to do it then, but I told her as soon as she's ready to like talk about her book, just let me know. Like, she will always have a forever spot on here. So I'm glad we were able to get this scheduled. And regardless of external forces working against us, uh,
So
we're
many.
going. We're actually getting this done today. So, with all that backstory being said, can you, A Will, let everyone know a little bit about you and a little bit about your journey into writing novels?
Okay, so I was a heavy reader when I was young. I was raised by my grandmother, which is an important part to actually add because it adds to the story that we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
And, I was, you know, we had the little paper catalogs from Scholastic, and my grandmother used to let me go buck wild.
I
Like,
remember those days.
I had those books coming in, and I would
Hmm.
sit up in my room with my because I lived with my grandmother, and in the little couch, my little peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I would just read.
Hmm.
And I remember certain authors stuck out when I was young, when I was getting into my reading bag, like Christopher Pike, Caroline Bean Cooney, Judy Blume,
Hmm.
just to name a few. And then, as I got older, that's when I started going into the Eric Jerome Dickey, the Zane, especially Zane. I
Mm.
love Zane so much.
Okay.
And also like the Omar Tyree, the Noor, who's another one, and the Shannon Holmes. There's a couple of them that I was just reading and reading, like spending like all down with me and everything.
Yeah.
But in between that time, I was also writing. First I started
Mhm.
off with journals and
Yeah.
writing our little kid thoughts like I can't stand my mom. She's pissing me off,
Everyone can
running
relate to that one
away.
for sure.
And then eventually it was just more like I was writing my thoughts and my feelings. I was like a
Hmm.
slightly emo kid. So,
Mm.
I was doing poetry and also I was dibbling into songwriting because I was also a singer.
Okay.
I performed. It was a choir back then in my elementary school called the Mahalia Jackson Singers. I was a part of from the second grade up into graduation, and then I
Mm.
continued singing. I had like me and my friends had like our own little bootleg Destiny Child thing going on. I was the songwriter.
Okay.
We really thought we was blowing up.
Hey, you have to have those dreams when you're young, right?
Yeah, but I performed on TV. I was on all the channels like when there was like regular cable. I performed on the Apollo stage multiple times.
Dang.
So I
She
thought
was a
I was gonna.
celebrity before she was even a writer. That's crazy.
I really thought I was gonna be a singer. Sometimes I miss it. Like, but I don't know. Writing is also just my passion. So
Hmm.
I was doing poems. I was doing songwriting, and then eventually I graduated into a short story. I was in college. I felt like college was a waste of time because I was learning things that we learned in high school. But I had the most
Oh yeah.
amazing when you have that one professor or that one teacher
Hmm.
that is profound where they just stick out to you. That was the professor that basically let me know that I had a chance of being a writer.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and I actually remember his name, Professor Carlos Hernandez. So if this ever
Mm.
comes out, I hope like that he's doing well. It was like my first A on a short story, and the short story had to have like this ominous tone.
Hmm.
And actually, that story is on Wattpad. If anyone wants to read it,
Oh, it
earlier
will be
work,
linked. It will be
ear-
linked.
earlier work. It was earlier work. It was like my first, I guess, introduction into doing like an ominous piece where it's like the twist
Mm.
comes at the end. But I
Okay.
got A on it, so don't
Nice.
so don't judge me, all right? If it's on Wattpad and it just seems a little like wonky.
Hey, I've
I'm
read a
proud
lot
of
of
it.
bad stuff on Wattpad, so I'm pretty sure it can't be bad.
Listen, I'm proud of that because it got me to this moment. It was my
Let's
first
go. I love
A,
it.
and I was excited. And then, I had a period where I stopped writing, but it was
Mm,
always on my mind. Like I was like, my phone was just full of notes, just random
mm-hmm.
thoughts. Anything I felt that was connected to creativity, it was written down. Like I have so many
Okay.
notes of things that I'm like, what was I thinking back then?
Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic happened
Mm.
and it called me. It called me hard. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have to go nowhere. I can just devote time, my own time. I don't have to do anything for anybody else right now. I was like, yes, the world is in flames, but I get to write. And I
Yeah.
just went into it. I was studying, I was doing research, I was taking like free online courses.
Mm.
And I was just writing. Like, the best thing to do was just to write. And
Yeah.
I have so many work in progress that I would like to revisit, but they just wasn't hitting at that moment. And then that one time has led me here to
All
what
it
we're
takes
talking
is one
about.
story. All
And
it
that's
takes
what
is
it
one
is
story.
that you happen to read.
Yes, I did. And we're definitely going to dive into it because I was lucky to be able to get an ARC copy and I didn't know what to expect. So when I met A Will, she was working on a superhero novel. And I was like, bet, like I write comics. She's writing a superhero novel. That's perfect. And then she pivoted to this story that we're talking about tonight called Tell Hazel I Love Her. And at first I was like, based off of the title, is this going to be like a rom-com? But then like I read through like the first 5 chapters, I was like, this ain't no rom com. So it really is. It's a really interesting read. It's a very fun, easy to like just sit and get lost in for a couple of hours. I was at work one day and it was slow, and for like 2 hours I just sat and read it. And I was like, dang, I didn't even realize it. Like, so my first question to you, to really get people to know you as just a person, as a writer, what are some genres outside of, I guess, superhero type stuff? Because I already mentioned that, but what are some genres that you like to write in?
Okay, so I have, glad you asked. I have so many different story ideas that are in the works in the process. Like I'm talking about, I actually sat down, jotted down a couple of chapters, and they're in
Mm-hmm.
different genres. I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be touching, erotica. I'm gonna be touching sci-fi fantasy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be touching action and adventure. Uh, and what's the urban fiction definitely
Okay.
because listen, I read the books. I have to pay homage. I
You
have
got
some
to.
ideas, maybe some drama, some suspense. I even have some mystery, some thrillers.
Mhm. Now,
I have
once you
like
write those, I'm definitely going to be invested. I love me a good mystery and I love a good thriller.
an abundance of ideas, and the very close few that I just shared the ideas like with, they're like, wait a minute, how did you come up with this idea? And it's basically a lot of daydreaming and a lot of cannabis.
Oh my goodness. Now that's funny, but I like it because it shows not only your flexibility, which when you all read this again, this book, I don't even think I mentioned this, but Tell Hazel I Love Her comes out April 20th. Um, this book mixes a lot of genres throughout the story. And I know when the writing classes I've taken for like screenwriting or for like comic book writing, they usually say stick to one or two genres. Don't try to mix too much because it gets messy. I think you took that advice and threw it out the window because
Exactly. I
there's
am
at least
a
four or
rule
five
breaker.
genres in here.
I'm a rule breaker. I've always been a rule
Mm,
breaker all my life.
I
I've been a
like it.
rule breaker. Like, I just feel like as long as it's not hurting anyone or it's not hurting myself,
Hmm.
it might just be a mistake. It's a decision, but I learn for them and I live for them, and it has made me the adult that I am right now, the person that I am right now. So I was like, why can't I put a little drama, a little suspense, a little romance and everything? And I love the title because everyone, first idea is that it is a romance just based
Hmm.
off the title, and I'm like, far from it, far
Yeah,
from
and
it.
then the way that the first chapter starts out and make it kind of makes you feel like that may be what it's going to. But I like how you were able to kind of like throw all the genres in throughout the story and make it work in a way where it's not like overwhelming. Like one of my favorite, like for me, whenever I'm reading or watching anything, one of the things I always look at is pace. And if the
Okay.
pace is off, I can't get into it. Like
Right.
just to kind of a little bit of a side, I recently watched that movie with Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried, The Housemaid.
Gosh, I did
That
too, and I
did
oh
you like it?
no,
So it was okay.
I okay. I give credit to where it's due,
Okay.
where there was a twist, and with the
Ish.
twist, yeah, the twist ish. It was like okay, okay, I could deal with that,
Yeah.
but my coworkers made me go to that.
Mm.
I didn't. It's not a movie I would have chose.
Yeah. It wasn't on my watch list. I was like, this does not look interesting.
But it's interesting that you brought up a movie in regards to pacing, because a lot of my writing and like my writing process, and we can get into that, whenever, is based off of me watching a lot of TV, but not just
Mhm.
movies, television shows specifically. Because to me, in my eyes, a television show, a series,
Yeah,
runs like a book.
it
Each
does.
each episode is a chapter,
Yep.
and I wanted my writing to apply like that because I wanted
Mhm.
when you read it to feel like you're watching it, using your own imagination, but you're watching what I wrote.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really do like about. I'm going to be glazing you a little bit, so you just get used to it.
Oh,
Uh, one of the things I did like about your writing style is the way that you were able to like kind of infuse us into the scenes, whether it be us meeting um, Bailey for the first time
I
in
love
the
Bailey.
restaurant. I bring that up for a very specific reason. We're not going to go into it because I know that's going to be a spoiler, but I just wanted to point that out. Um, or like just the very opening sequence where we get to see Sincere after he gets off work, and that's kind of where the adventure gets started. And the way that you kind of put us in those moments, I think works really well. Um, I guess that brings up my one of my first questions about the book then. Like when you were writing or when you're writing in general, how do you go about like making these scenes and these sequences feel so lifelike? Like what is it that clicks for you where it's like, okay, I feel like I'm in this scene now.
Well, the way I approach fiction
Mhm.
is that it is from real life.
I
we
like it.
Fiction had to come from real life. It had to come from something.
Mhm.
A lot of things, yes, are made up, and as time goes on and as things evolve, but for the most part, we get these things because of real life experiences.
Mhm.
So we could talk about the first chapter because the first chapter has been definitely promoted on social media. That's how I basically have been, trying to get people to come in. Um, the first chapter starts off with the main character, Sincere Bennett. I named him Sincere on purpose because that speaks to his character.
Mhm.
And it's so funny because when I was developing the characters and deciding who was going to be the main character,
Mhm.
I was drawn to create a guy. And then
Okay.
usually, like, women, they go to their first character, might be their main character might be a woman, like to emulate
Mhm.
them. But I don't know, I was drawn to this guy, but I wanted the guy to kind of also like reflect me. So
Mhm.
the first chapter opens up with Sincere missing the bus
Yeah.
because that's what happened to me in New York City. So how Tell Hazel I Love Her came about was I was in the middle of writing this story that I want to go back into, but I had got stuck because it required a lot more world building, and I was a little bit
Mhm.
more green at that time,
Makes
with
sense.
writing and pacing. And when I went back and looked at it, I was like, wow, I'm much better now. But but like I said, writing is always on my mind 24/7. So I was heading to work and I
Okay.
missed the bus. It was wintertime. And if you know anything about New
It's
York
like a
City,
shot for shot.
yeah, anything about New York City and missing the bus, like that's detrimental. Like,
Mhm.
so I was sitting on the bench and I was just allowing my mind to wander as was waiting for another bus in the cold. And I remember turning to my right and looking to nothing. There was nothing there, but I just was imagining that someone was there in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, well, what if we was into conversation? And then it just kind of snowballed from that. So, when it comes to sincere, it's him missing the bus. That literally happened to me in real life. So I was like, we're just gonna put that in there. That's how we're gonna start the story. Give that real New York effect. He meets this stranger that's at the bus shelter. At first you don't see him because he's in a corner and it's very, dim
Yeah.
and it's dark. And then it's like he reveals himself, taking his black blanket off, and then they go into this conversation. It's profound, sincere. Feels like he got something from this guy that didn't have to do anything for him, didn't owe him
Mm-hmm.
anything, any time or anything. And then this particular stranger asked him to do him a favor, to deliver this envelope and a message. The
Mm-hmm.
message: tell Hazel I love her. And then it's like, okay, sincere again. That speaks to his name, speaks to his character. Self-righteous, good, good doer type. He's like, yes, I'm gonna do this favor for you. Then the stranger dies right in
Yeah.
front of his face. That's the chapter. That's the
That is
first
exactly how
chapter.
the chapter is. I'm like, I legitimately was just like, so I'm expected to just like keep reading, right?
I know, and like when I first wrote the first chapter, I was like, okay, this story is speaking to me so hard, and it was like the words was like, coming out like butter. Everything was smooth. Like the characters, the names, everything was just effortless. And
Mm-hmm.
I knew this was the story. Every author gets that story where it's the story. And I knew Tell Hazel I Love Her was that. And I was like, when I was developing the first chapter, I was like, I'm gonna kill off the character. Right in the first chapter. Doing it. YOLO.
I
So
think that's the perfect way to actually start it because, and actually it's going to go into my next question, but getting to know Will for that short period of time and getting to see kind of like where he feels his shortcomings are at and getting to hear from his perspective why he is where he is makes you want to know, okay, well, was it really that?
yeah.
And so my question to you, because as I was reading this book, as we got to see more of the totality of what actually happened to Will, I wanted to know, like, what was the inspiration behind Will's character?
So not to say I can only speak for where I live at in New York City. I'm not
Fair,
saying
fair.
it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
But, especially throughout the years, especially it's a huge decline and a huge actually increase with the homeless people and mentally
Hmm.
ill and stuff like that. There's neighborhoods that native New Yorkers can actually pinpoint without saying anything else with context, and you just know. Like you say, like 25th Street in Lexington, they like, like there's spots in New York City that's just really bad, and
Hmm.
but I always wondered how some of these people got to where they were. And I kind of wanted to basically tell this story from the perspective of a homeless person, of like letting
Hmm.
them know, like, wait, my life wasn't always this. This is
I like
who I
that.
am. Like to show the humanity part of it and to show, like, this is still a person. Yeah, they
Yeah.
went through some hard times, but this is a person and they had a
Hmm.
history, they had a past. So it's just like, we don't often get to hear that. But there
Hmm.
is, I can't think of it right now, but there's this site on Instagram, like this little platform where they do talk to New Yorkers and do talk to different people and let we get to hear their story. You probably heard of it. I just can't call it right now. But that's kind of like where the inspiration for Will's character came from.
I really like that because, like you said, oftentimes people look at someone who's homeless and they immediately think, oh, that person's lazy or, oh, that person just ruined their life. And it's like, I can't remember where I read this or what the actual statistic was, but I think they said like 30% of homeless people across the United States are like functionally homeless, where like they actually have a job and they do
Yeah.
stuff, but they just can't afford to
Mhm.
live anywhere. It's like, y- we automatically assume and judge people based off of the situation, not realizing that they aren't that situation. They're
Right.
just in that situation. And the way that you frame Will in this story and throughout the entire book, from chapter 1, we get to meet him as he is at that moment. But the rest of the
Right.
book, I feel like we get to learn more about who Will is as a person, his actual character, and how many lives he touched. And I think things like that helps frame those type of situations where like you'll take a second to like not judge that person that you see sleeping on a bench. So I love that part. I love that aspect of the story. Um, when you were writing this, did the title "Tell Hazel I Love Her" just was that just always going to be the title, or did you have to workshop it?
No, that was literally after the idea came, the title came. What I
That's
mean,
rare.
everything just like right, and that's what I said. I at that moment I knew that this was the story, and I was so happy that the story came to me at that time because prior to that, this like I said, I was it was during the pandemic and everything, but then when everything started to open up, I had got a job. But during the pandemic, and this is like an interesting little story.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I was doing research, watching a lot of TV shows, rewatching shows that gathering all that inspiration and just seeing how things is written and listening to the writing. I always tell people when they ask me questions about writing, I'm like, listen, watch your favorite show that is related to what you're writing, but this time watch with intent, listen to the
Mm-hmm.
writing. So that's what I was doing a lot during the pandemic as well as actually writing. And
You're good.
so one of the movies that I got interested in watching was it was called the After series, and the whole story
Mm-hmm.
behind that was very interesting. The author of the because it was basically a story adapted from Wattpad. It was an
Mm-hmm.
author that was writing from her phone a whole book and posting on Wattpad. It got big, huge response, and then it got adapted to a movie. What attracted me about the story is being able to just write anywhere. And that was one of the things that attracted me. And her name is Anna Todd. That she wrote this story that became in a movie,
Mm-hmm.
technically from her phone, whenever she had time. And just as like, I think it started out kind of like somewhat of a fanfic, but also like, its own plot. And I was inspired by that. So I started teaching myself how to write from my phone. And that helped me with Tell Hazel I Love Her because, like I said, the words was just coming out like butter.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to write anywhere and any time and have access to the story. I wrote the story in 9 months.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
That is
because the other
impressive.
one took longer.
I feel like often like the I've heard a lot of authors say that it takes them varying amounts of time to finish some stories. And I feel like some of the best stories are the ones where not only did they take their time with it, but they were able to kind of just get in that flow. It reminds me of the movie Soul. You just
Hmm.
get in the zone and it's just like it just flows and it just goes. So I like that. So earlier you mentioned that there's some inspiration from your grandmother in the book. Can you tell us about
Hmm.
that inspiration?
So I threw like a little Easter eggs in the story, whether it might be an address or like things that I kind of made like a double entendre in.
Mm,
My grandmother was a huge inspiration. She's no longer with me. She hasn't been with me for a long time. But again, like I said earlier, she was my huge inspiration into reading, into
mhm.
writing. And, it's just like when I was writing this book, I often thought about how I can incorporate her in it. So there's just like little
Yeah.
tidbits of her in the story. I was
Okay.
waiting for people to ask me which tidbits, you know, in the story was my grandmother, or as well as things that I put in the story that actually happened to me in real life. But I didn't get many responses, but I did get some.
Okay.
One person, figured something a scene out, and they was like, "Did this really happen to you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was like, "It's interesting how you incorporated it into the story, so it flowed." I'm like, "Yeah, real life experience turned into fiction."
Can you share that experience that showed up in the book without spoiling the story?
Because it's not really, yeah, absolutely. So,
Perfect.
so do you remember the part where Sincere had like a little flashback about his encounter with the cops when he was young?
Mhm.
That happened to me in real life,
Oh.
to the T. Everything that
Oh.
happened, the only thing that's changed is the names. That whole entire scene happened to me verbatim, down to what Sincere wanted to eat.
Oh. Okay.
Now, so
And
now it's
yeah,
like when you think about it, you're like, wait,
I'm gonna have to reread that now just so I could kind of like have a better frame of reference because I remember that scene and I remember that
right,
point because it was a pretty emotional part for me just being a black man knowing
absolutely, and that's
how
what I
that
wanted to
happens.
highlight.
Yeah, and then to see how that not only affected him, but also how that affected his mother was also huge, especially with her being the main, at the main victim of that. So that's wow. That's so Sincere's mom. So based off of what you're telling me, it sounds like you basically took a lot of aspects of your life and kind of just like made that the story,
Pretty much.
but kind
I
of
was
like made it a little bit more fictional.
yes. There's of course there's certain things that did not happen to me in the story,
Yeah.
but for obvious reasons. A lot of things, yes. Like for example, Sincere's mother, she suffered from a traumatic brain injury, but
Mm,
not my real life mom. No, she hasn't. But it was kind of like touching on my mom suffers from mental health issues,
mm,
and in who in this world who doesn't at this point?
yeah.
It's nothing to be ashamed about. Growing up, I saw how that affected my relationship with her.
Mm,
And I kind of incorporated that in the story with Sincere's mother and the difficulties between their relationship because of her traumatic brain injury. And it's just like when my mom read the story, I was kind of nervous because I was like, my mom, my mom's smart. Like,
yeah.
she could put two and two together. But I remember, I'll never forget this. I remember her messaging me, and she was like, "Is Sincere's mom me?" And I was like, "Yeah, kind of." She was like, "You wrote this very well," and I was like, "Ah, my mom loves my story. I don't care what nobody thinks."
Yeah, that's always the best part. Like, to me at least, as a writer, when someone that is close to you or like a friend or somebody really enjoys your writing, is like, okay, like that's kind of like takes it to the next level for you.
Right.
So I know this is tough, but I gotta ask because
I'm
everyone
ready.
has everyone has a favorite. But what
Oh,
is your
I knew this
favorite
was
part of the story?
favorite part of the story, not favorite characters.
No,
Okay.
I'm not going to ask that one because I already know who your favorite character is.
Wait, you do? Did I tell you?
I think we talked. Yeah, we talked about it.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk about it again on podcast after this one, just to be
Okay. Okay.
sure.
Favorite part of the story. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, this one is a tough one because it's I'm not gonna spell out the scene. I'm just gonna
That's fair.
say it in the world the way that you remember it, right?
Okay.
It's basically towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, okay, I have two. I have two.
Okay. Okay.
The one that is literally my favorite, and I was thinking about this earlier, is toward the end, and it is the situation with Miss Bois.
Okay. Okay. That's
I
fair.
that chapter and that entire scene, that interaction, I love so much without giving away spoilers because I like the way those two characters interact with each other. I
Mm-hmm.
like the way that Miss Dubois interacted in that situation, that emotion that happened, everything that went down, and I like the way, without like I said, giving spoilers away, I like the way the other character interacted and kind of showed like people think I'm one way, but kind of still showing like I have this cleverness too. You
Yeah,
understand what I'm trying to
I
say?
know what you're talking about.
So I actually love that one. That was kind of like my favorite. And
Okay, that's fair.
my second favorite is honestly the letters.
Mm,
All the letters. They all give a little
that's
bit of
good.
something different.
Yeah.
But that last one was gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I, I like how you interwove the letters throughout the story.
Right.
Like each letter, well, towards the beginning, we got a couple of the letters that were supposedly written towards the stranger, but we know
That's sincere.
exactly it was supposed to be for Sincere. And then the towards the middle of the book, we got a few letters read to us towards Hazel, and then towards the rest of the end of the book, we got to get more of those letters. And so, like for you, when you were writing the story, was that intentional for you to just kind of letter? It's funny, letter
Letter.
the book with those letters, or was it just like something that as you went back and looked at, it was like, oh wow, I did that.
No, it was definitely intentional. When I was developing this story, I literally remember talking to myself. Because I mean, who wouldn't talk to themselves as a writer?
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
I
true.
remember
Yeah.
talking to myself. I said, I want a full gumbo of everything in this story. I'm gonna break all the rules. I'm gonna break everything. I'm just gonna put everything in. It's gonna be some drama. It's gonna be some suspense. It's gonna be some romance. It's gonna be everything in there.
Mm,
And when I got to the story, I was like, the title. The title in itself is a double entendre. It's
Mm-hmm.
the title of the book and it's the message they're supposed to carry on by Sincere that he's supposed to deliver. Tell Hazel I love her. But I wanted to carry that message throughout the story. And the only way to do that was to create these letters, to create that connection throughout the story.
Mm-hmm.
So the letters was definitely intentional. I wanted to do something different in this story, in this particular gumbo.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I think I got maybe one or two more questions for you, then I'll let you go.
Okay.
I have to ask this one because this kind of caused an uproar on Threads today. And you knew you knew I was going to ask. I
I
have to
was
ask.
waiting.
I wanted to kind of save it for last. Why do people hate Nate? What did Nate ever do to anybody? Like he's just a simple guy who loves his friend, who just wants the same love and respect from his parents. Like Nate didn't do nothing.
Okay. So, okay. It's been 3 years, and I'm still trying to understand the hate for Nate. To be honest,
I don't
I
get it.
I get. So this is why I love writing, and this is why I love stories. I love storytelling, and I love listening to the readers. The readers, their perspective is just so amazing. Fun fact: when Tell Hazel I Love Her was in its roughest, you weren't the only person that I met through Threads. I met some amazing people through Threads. Oh, I also want to shout out one of them who did my blurb for Tell Hazel I Love Her, which is on the back of the book. I'll get to
Mm-hmm.
her in a second. And I created a little bootleg book club, and the book club was centered around Tell Hazel I Love Her. And just listening to their different perspectives on my story helped also develop me into a better writer, into the story that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all crazy to me and hilarious. And every time I will stop and laugh hilariously, like that everyone hated Nate. These are strangers talking to each other like, yes, I hate Nate. And then when he was talking about the story on Threads, yeah, Nate can go to hell and F Nate. And I'm like, I didn't, okay, when I wrote the story, I wanted I wanted Sincere to be one way, but I wanted his best friend to be another. Meaning, like,
Mm-hmm.
they had similarities, but there was some differences about them in personality. So you can kind of distinguish that they are two different people.
Mm-hmm.
I did not intend to, and these are the words of people that hate Nate, to create him as a fuckboy. That was not my intention. Yes, I wanted to make things about
I can
him
see
be
that.
right, right. I wanted to make things about him in his character development and then, his entire arc for him to be slightly flawed. But
Mm-hmm.
I guess the things that I made him flawed earned him the I hate Nate train.
I can see. So in that regard, I can understand because yeah,
He did some
yeah,
questionable things, even though he
he
did it in
does.
good faith.
And so when we got to that point in the story, I was like, oh, so this is what people hate him for. And I'm just like, once you get past that part and you see why he did it, I'm just like, I mean, I'm not mad at him for doing it. Like, I get it. It was a terrible thing for him to do, but it's like at the end of the day, like he was trying to look out for his boy. Like I
Exactly.
get it.
I mean, it was not the best decision, but that's also kind of like the running theme for my story. So I have also a lot of running themes. The biggest one is humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Humanity is the hugest thing in the story. Like, kind of just bringing back that human moment of going the extra mile for somebody that you don't know. Um, but also the running theme was just like flaws, like
Mm-hmm.
making bad decisions. They all of them made bad decisions. All of them made
They
some
did.
questionable choices. But Nate gets the most hate, and I don't understand why. It's just hilarious.
Justice for Nate. That's gonna
Justice
be my
for
hashtag.
Nate, man. Just wait. Let me not say that. I want my readers to like. But I don't know. I think that, but also too, I just also want to mention, because you asked me our favorite parts, and honestly, that part between him and Sincere, and night night.
Mm-hmm. I love that
Yeah,
part.
yeah, I do
That's my
too.
favorite part.
I that's
Mostly, so I gotta say, the only reason why I love it is because it felt real. Like Nate explaining why he did what he did, and then Sincere literally being pissed off. Like that felt real. That felt like I felt like that was something that would happen between me and like one of my friends. So
right. because
I
it's
like
like
that.
you know your best friend. You know this is the type of person that he is. So and he's explaining everything to you, you know, whether he's breadcrumbing it or not, but he's explaining everything to you and what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate decides to go around that. And in addition to the bomb that he dropped at the end, kind of like to like poke the bear even further, it just kind of set Sincere, you know, off.
Yeah. And
You
I
know,
like that that happened at during that moment where Nate kind of dropped that big bombshell on Sincere about something very specific that they had been talking about,
right?
because we saw them kind of allude to it, and it was like, okay, when is this going to come up? And then for this to come up at that point in time, it was just like it was perfect.
It was first, and you know, one thing I don't know if you picked up on that scene is, and I wanted to, without it being so overpowering, I wanted to kind of enhance that moment as Sincere as a young black man.
Mm.
And you know, just the running theme is some of the things that he mentioned and what he said in defense. And I wanted to just highlight that, you know, we take care of our own
Hmm.
and we should not turn our back on our own. And that's kind of what I was, the message that I was trying to like generate in that scene when Sincere was talking to Nate, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I got that for sure. Honestly, we could probably talk about this all day, but I don't want to keep you all night. Final comments about the book and about you as an author. I really enjoyed what I read. I look forward to reading more. But my last question, because we kind of talked about this before, who's your favorite character?
I knew you was going to ask me. So, funny enough, I was doing a mental preparation. I was just trying to figure out what questions you would ask me. And I was like, it's got to be the favorite character. And that is a tough one
Mm.
because I came up with three
You know, it's
at the
funny as a writer, like it's hard to like pinpoint your favorite characters from any of your stories.
but honestly, now that it's actually four.
Oh,
But they it's for you wanna know why I can't just pick one. They have different reasons why I like them as
hmm.
far as how I develop their characters. So the first one is Gabby.
You know, I actually wouldn't have picked Gabby as one of your favorite characters, but I like Gabby. She was a fun addition to the story.
So, fun fact about Gabby. Gabby's character developed from my persona and my character, my personality or threads. So a lot of
Mm.
people, fun fact, before I was like kind of shifting more to being a writer and author, I was known for clapping back.
That
And my
was
clapbacks,
your persona.
that was my clapbacks were kind of legendary. That's speak from a cocky perspective, but they was I it earned a lot of people like following me. They was like, yo, her
Hmm.
mouth was crazy. I wanted to create a character like that, and so Gabby is me. Gabby is me on threads. Some of the things
There's
she
a running
say that,
theme, you guys.
yeah, it's like some of the things is just like the wittiness about her. That's me.
She always
Um,
has a quip.
and that's in real life. That's how I talk. Like I talk
I can
literally
imagine
like that.
that.
Yeah. So it was so easy to write her character.
Okay, that's nice.
I would say my other favorite character is Miss Dubois.
Mm. You know, I can see why. Miss Dubois was real. She when she was first introduced, she was one of those like, okay, I need to know more.
Right.
Especially when she does what she does towards the middle of the book.
Right. I wanted so how Miss Dubois' character developed was I was seeing a lot of things on social media from the younger generation. And one of the running things, especially when they're trying to clap back, is, calling us old, acting like, oh, you're 35, that's old, you're a senior citizen. Like,
Yeah.
and so I took that as an inspiration and created this character. And if you think back with the things that she said, that's what I incorporated. Like, yes, she's in her 50s. Doesn't mean she can't do things. And she lets it be known
She
that she can
does
do some
things.
things.
she she definitely be doing things.
And, the inspiration, if Tell Hazel I Love Her, or when Tell Hazel I Love Her becomes a movie, knock
Yeah.
on wood, is Tasha Smith.
Mm,
I would have, like, Tasha Smith would be the perfect Miss Dubois. She has
it's
that
a good choice.
personality, like, in the movie, Why Did I Get Married? The whole,
Hmm.
that meme just went around, that boom. She
Mm-hmm.
reminds she really could nail Miss Dubois.
I can see
Definitely.
that. Yeah, I can see that.
My third favorite character is
F Miles. I can't stand Miles. I can't stand Miles.
and
That's the
that's why
character
he's
I
my
hate.
favorite. That's why he's my favorite character. But that reaction right there, that's why he's my favorite character because of that reaction. I
So
wanted to
it's
make a character that gets under your skin.
the first time he's introduced with his brother, I was like, okay, like they're kind of dickheads, but whatever. But then when they show up at the restaurant, that's the point where I'm like, yeah, he needs to go. He has to go. He has to go.
So fun. I always mess up their name. Is it the Wood brothers or no? Wood is his name. I think it's the Harris brothers. So you know the husband that played on no, that Tyler Perry movie. They threw his behind in the bathtub.
Oh yeah, Diver Mad Black Woman.
Right, right. Diary of a Mad Black Woman. So he would be Darius.
Definitely. Yep.
But his real
Definitely.
life brother, I would have him play Miles.
Okay. I can see that.
Right, because I don't remember, and quote me if I'm wrong. I have not seen them because they're real life brothers. I have not seen them play brothers. So when I
I
was
don't
thinking
think
about the
so either.
Turner, yeah, when I was thinking about the Turner brothers, I wanted somebody that can really get in that role and be grimy and have different levels of griminess.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was looking for info, I was like, have I seen these brothers together? I was like, you know what? They would be the perfect Turner brothers. So as I started like looking at them as if they was playing the Turner brothers, that's when their characters and their
Mm,
personalities developed.
I like
But
it.
I like Miles. He got under people's skin.
He definitely got under my skin. I wanted to go through the book and hit him myself.
And last but not least, which actually she's my top favorite character, and people cannot stand her, but it's okay. Is Bailey.
I knew that's the one I was expecting you to say.
Really never last. I love Bailey. I love her character so bad. So bad.
I like Bailey.
People don't like her. They think Bailey's nuts.
They don't like Nate. They don't like Bailey. Like, what is it? What's the problem? Well, to be fair, there's a point I want to say around just before you get to the middle of the book where Bailey does something, and it's just like, ew, like why would you do that? So I get that, but I still like Bailey. I think she's cool.
Bailey's character, it just speaks to me. And
Mm.
what I got from Tell Hazel I love her in regards to Bailey's character is how she was put in the book.
Mm.
Like there are points in the story you might forget about her. And then next thing you know, she pops up. But it's not even forced.
No, she's like Batman because the way she pop up and then just disappears is insane.
I love Bailey. And just the inspo, her name is Shania West. She has played in The Woman's King. She was the lead in the movie called Jade. She's actually my inspo for Bailey.
Okay.
Finding her on Instagram is the Samurai Rider. I think that's how it is, Samurai Rider.
Okay. Okay.
She's my inspo. She's dope. She would make the perfect Bailey, like perfect. And then when I found her and I was still developing Bailey's character and I just was like following her on Instagram, I was like, yeah. And now if you find her, it'll make sense to you why Bailey's character is that way.
Like literally, as soon as we're done recording, I'm gonna take a look and be like, "Oh, I see now."
Oh yeah, I'll definitely send it to you. I want you to. I don't even want you to have to find it. I'm gonna send it to you so you can see.
Okay. That's awesome. I love it. Like I felt your passion as I was reading the story and as we kind of talked about it and just kind of like talking about it now and getting to kind of get a little bit behind the scenes of where the story came from. I see more of your passion and your love for the story. So everyone, April 20th, you got to read it. Can you tell people, Will, where can they get Tell Hazel I Love Her when it drops on April 20th?
So definitely it's going to be on Amazon. I said Amazon Prime. Amazon Kindle. Amazon Kindle, Amazon KU. It's going to be in paperback. I will announce if there might be a delay on the paperback. It'll definitely be, available for KU and Kindle.
Okay.
But if there's a delay, I'll let people know. So far, we're right on track. And also, I'm trying to get into bookshop.org.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any final comments before I let you go?
I want people to give Tell Hazel I Love Her a chance. It's a unique story. I know sometimes people are in their comfort genres when it comes to their reading and luxury,
Yeah.
and it's hard for them to break out. And I know it's hard to actually phantom that an original idea exists, because I've heard a lot of writers say that like, oh, no, original ideas don't exist when it comes to story ideas, and I'm like, that's kind of like a gray area, because if that was the case, then every book would be the same in every
Hmm.
genre. There are different there are definitely, I guess, certain plots that can feel repetitive when it comes to stories. But when it came to Tell Hazel I Love Her, I was, even when I was like contemplating, doing a query and like try to go traditionally published. This was like early in.
Hmm.
Um, and I got to the question that said, "What can you compare it to?" And I drew a blank. And I thought I was drawing a blank, being in it from a biased mindset because it's my story. So then I asked other people after they've read it. I'm like, "What can you compare this story to?" And they're like, "Nothing." And I was like, did not think that would happen. That wasn't my goal. I mean, I wanted the
Yeah.
story to be unique, but I didn't think I was not going to be able to compare it to anything. And I was like, and that's when also it kind of drove me further into, amongst other reasons, into self-publishing, because I was like, this story does. I don't. This story is me. I've never been boxed in, so I can't even
Hmm.
box my own story in. So I was like,
That's
I want
true.
to publish it my way.
I love it. I love it. A Will, everyone, go check her out. If you're not following her, follow her on Threads, Instagram. Actually, yeah, where can people find you other than Threads and Instagram?
No, that's it. I mean, like, I have a TikTok that is collecting dust. I'm not on Facebook. I'm heavy on Threads, and occasionally, definitely, I'm gonna be actually more so posting on Instagram. Auntie old, like Auntie don't want to have all these like different social media things. Like, I'm
Yeah,
having a hard time keeping up. I'm a
that's fair.
Virgo, so I just need to, like, have that moment to reset. So I don't need to be social
Hmm.
all the time.
That I feel you on that. Well, thank you for letting me pick your brain about your story, talk to you about your journey into being an author, and just kind of just chat it up. It was a fun
Oh,
story.
thanks for having me. I'm so happy this finally happened.
Me too. It was the perfect timing, honestly. Perfect timing. So everyone go follow A Will on Threads and Instagram. Go get the book, Tell Hazel I Love Her, coming out April 20th on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. And yeah, again, this has been the Virgin Comics podcast. I'm Gary. Go read Tell Hazel I Love Her when it comes out.